Alright, what's going on, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. 2025 is already starting off crazy. We got that terrorist attack that happened out in New Orleans. We got the Cybertruck that blew up in front of Trump's hotel. What else do we got? We got that shooting that happened in New York. We got people talking about Dior bags, whatever the hell that is. We got fog that looks like it's straight out of the Upside Down. What the hell is going on? But yeah, if you watched my last video, the ex-CIA agent, she was talking about how things were going to pop off in 2025, but I just wasn't thinking it was going to be the very first day. So make sure you stay tuned, and we're about to get right to the video.
I would like for you to explain what smart dust is.
Smart dust refers to tiny wireless sensors that can detect things like light, temperature, chemicals, or vibrations. These tiny devices can be spread over an area to collect data and communicate wirelessly. It's like having a network of microscopic sensors providing real-time information. Anything specific you'd like to know more about?
Does smart dust get in your lungs?
It's possible. Since smart dust particles are extremely small, there's a concern they could be inhaled. Researchers are working on making them safe and ensuring they don't pose health risks. Would you like to know more about how they're designed?
Yes.
Smart dust devices are designed to be very tiny, often the size of a grain of sand or even smaller. They're typically made using micro-electromechanical systems, MEMS technology, which allows them to have sensors, communication capabilities, and sometimes even power sources. The goal is to keep them small but functional, and researchers also work on making materials that are biocompatible or biodegradable to reduce health risks.
All right, so it's crazy foggy right now. But that's not the weird part, okay? Like, number one, it's weird because as it gets later in the day, fog should lighten, dissipate, and it's really not. But the weirdest part is the taste and smell. It smells like after you set off a bunch of fireworks, and like the taste of the air is, I mean, the only word I can think of is toxic. It's super weird. And so I'm going for my walk, and it's kind of worrying me a little bit. Let me know if you guys are experiencing something like that. That's weird. Yeah, I mean, it smells not right. And I'm 41. I've been through fog. This is something different. Let me know if you guys are experiencing something like that.
I've been seeing a lot of people talk about this smart dust, and they think that's what's in the fog. And I mean, I could believe it. It could definitely be mixed in there, because I think it's weird that they say it has a weird smell and it's got a taste to it. I mean, you never know. And even if they did put it in there, it's not like we'd ever find out about it. I think it's crazy they even have technology like this. And this is the stuff that they're talking about. So imagine the stuff they have they don't talk about.
Did you know the word alcohol
It's what the spirit alcohol.
Yes.
Absolutely.
You knew that?
Yes,
I believe that.
It is.
It literally, kills your spirit and allows demons to come in. You know what I mean? And take over. And I 100% believe that.
I can say this since this is our podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely was drinking when I put up the DEFCON tree. I definitely, I had, who's I want to say alcohol I had inside me, but I don't know. Hennessy.
Wow, it's interesting.
Hennessy. It turns us gray. and literally the demons
just come in. Yeah, no, I honestly, I was fascinated when I learned that, the history of that. And it's literally because when you drink, you become a different person. It's almost literally like a spirit has taken over you. That's why they call them spirits. Did you know that? That's why they call them spirits.
Yes, absolutely.
That's crazy to think about. So I wonder if, like, when you black out, if that means you fully get taken over by a spirit. Because, I mean, you can black out and still have full conversations with people, but in the morning, you ain't going to remember any of it. It'll make you wake up regretting everything you did the night before.
Who is Ray Epps?
I'm aware of the individual, sir. I don't have the specific background to him.
We need to go into the Capitol!
Fed. The Sandburn was Ray Epps a Fed?
Sir, I cannot answer that question.
I'm the one who asked Merrick Garland. I showed him the tape of Ray Epps. I had to show it on an iPad for Merrick Garland to watch it, and then he refused to say how many feds were there.
I'm not going to comment on an investigation that's ongoing.
Feds, agents of the federal government, we're not just there, but we're also encouraging people to riot or go into the Capitol.
That's exactly right. Federal agents encourage the violence.
That's what you call provocateurs. COINTELPRO, that's what they do. They'll send people out whenever there's like a protest or anything, and they'll get them all hyped up and get them to do stuff that makes them look bad, and it like defeats the whole purpose of what they're trying to do. So pretty much if they can get you to loot and break stuff and start acting crazy, they pretty much did their job. I just don't know how people are falling for that, because they're obviously out there provoking you. So anybody that has a head on their shoulders and thinks for themselves would know not to follow what they're doing. So you got to watch out for that.
This is the antimatter reactor, and this is where it sits in the middle of the craft. I drew these to better explain what Bob told me how the craft worked. This is the craft.
Lazar, he's the goat.
The little orange spot is where the antimatter reactor is. These are the gravity amplifiers, and what happens is they shoot protons into the 115, which bumps it up to 116,
right.
which shows off antimatter, which is mixed with matter, and through a thermionic generator creates voltage out of heat. They then take, and they're able to take it up to the center of the craft and down through the sides and into the gravity amplifiers and focus on a point in space, increase the amplification that pulls that space towards the craft. It wraps around the craft, and then they turn it off, and they're instantly hundreds of thousands of miles away.
Very first day of the year.
First of all, we do know that the city of New Orleans was impacted by a terrorist attack. It's all still under investigation.
现在是凌晨1点40啊，这个是个什么景象啊？有谁知道吗？这是在上海的大街宝山。
See, it's foggy there. It's hard to see what that is.
The alien invasion, y'all.
There's no alien invasion.
Yes, it is an alien invasion. What is
This is
it? Look
3
at them.
different places, all
top.
with fog.
See?
This stuff is
the
everywhere.
formation on the right, and then they got another formation in the middle, and another formation on the left.
Aliens, who is this? They don't look
Let me see.
Just a reminder for anybody that didn't know, in 1582, Pope Gregory the 13th changed the calendar to a Gregorian calendar. Originally, the new year started in April, and the Gregorian calendar started it in January 1st. For hundreds of years before this occurrence happened, it was a 13-month calendar, based on the cycles of the moon. It doesn't make sense that January would be the start of the new year, when in the spring, April, is when everything starts to blossom and grow. In Ethiopia, they're in the year 2017. Yeah, you heard me correctly. And us, we're going into 2025. The only reason is because they still follow the 13th month calendar. It's also important to mention that the first Bible in Africa came from Ethiopia. And that whole stigma about April 1st being April Fools ties into this. Me personally, I believe that the new year starts in April around that time because this is hibernation time. This is get in your crib and run for cover. You could feel the changes in life. You could feel a new spark once spring starts coming around. We're on a biological clock and people seem to forget that. Question everything.
Southern Russia, there was this thing discovered that they're calling the Kahara Hora Shaft, discovered by Arthur Zhemukov. He discovered at the top of the mountain this small hole, and it was this deep, narrow, vertical shaft. And then when they dropped 130 feet down, they discovered a bigger room with these giant megalith slabs that had right angles put together.
What?
Everyone concluded that this is in fact man-made. The megalith slabs that were in it looked almost identical to the base of the pyramid of Khufu in Egypt. Arthur did not discover this fully by accident. He was obsessed with studying the history of the Nazis and the occult, and he saw that a group of Nazis went to the Caucasus Mountains and supposedly found something. When he was up on the Kahara Hora mountain, he saw this boulder with a swastika carved in it.
Oh no.
In 2015, Arthur came out and said, after exploring it even further, made a revolutionary discovery. The next day, he was hit by a car and died. All the other team members that were involved in it, within that same year, they all died.
That's messed up.
He sat down, he looked down on the floor, and he kind of looked around. He said, "There's aliens living in that mountain." I said, "Extraterrestrial aliens?" "Yep." I said, "That's why the mountain opens." Shakes his head. I said, "So what are we going to find when we go down there?" He said, "We only went down there once, and we never went back." So I said, "You went down there, you climbed the mountain?" He said, No. There's a tunnel. The old uranium mine is there, and there's a tunnel that leads the old mine shaft. We had built that, the test site built that for a testing area. They were going to test lasers in it. And when they got a certain point into the mountain, about a mile in, they realized there were visitors there. And this is what he's telling us. So we got out of there. So I said, the United States Air Force, the United States Army is pulling out of a place that you saying? Did you actually see him? He said, "No, I never saw him." So I said, "I want to go down there." So I got a couple agents, and there was a security detail of 12 to 15 of them, I believe, security police. And they were armed. I didn't take an M16. We didn't take it. We had them. But and I was trained in them, but I didn't take them. I had my handgun.
Plus, you had the whole crew.
Yeah, plus those guys are going to protect us. We said, "Oh," we went down there. We walked in. I mean, we went in, and they had erected a huge vault door because of what they found inside, and there was combination locks and so forth. And it took some time for it to get the big vault door open. And the security guys go, "There it is." I said, "Well, you guys going in with us?" And they kind of looked at each other. There was a lieutenant that was a leader of them. "If you insist." I said, "Have you been here before?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Have you seen anything?" He shakes his head, "Yeah." I said, "What are they extraterrestrials? What do they look like?" He said, "They're pretty hideous looking."
All I know is if I was an alien, that's where I'd be hiding, in the mountains and in the ocean. Because that's where a lot of people don't go, especially the ocean. And I mean, for all these people to keep claiming the same thing, that they're in the mountains and in the ocean, I don't think they'd all be saying that if it wasn't true. I know I believe it's true.
America, we have a major issue. This Listeria thing is way worse than anyone thought. Where do I start? So basically Friday, the FDA sent out a massive warning to everyone about this Listeria outbreak. And they found it at Walmart and Aldi and Kroger. So now all 3 stores are recalling vegetables and herbs, including guacamole and salsa. This is bad, guys. You've got salad mixes. You've got different herbs. You guys, this is all over the place. I know a lot's going on in the world right now, but be careful what you're buying. Basically, Kroger came out and said that if you had bought any of those products, the salsa, the guacamole, any of the produce, throw it away.
You might want to check what's in your fridge tonight. A major produce company is recalling more than 140 vegetable products sold at supermarkets across the United States, including the Bay Area, over listeria concerns. And we're talking
Man, you can't trust
broccoli,
none of this food
cauliflower,
now.
carrots, Brussels sprouts, and much more from fresh Del Monte produce.
So here we have a lot of very compelling evidence. You're going to see drill holes like this one, of which there are many, not only here on the Giza Plateau, but also other locations in Egypt. You can see, obviously, it's some kind of tube drill, and don't try to presume even for a second that these were done in modern times, because the penetration rate of the drill is estimates according to people such as machinists who have been with us on location in Egypt, that the penetration rate is 500 times more efficient than a 21st century drill. And we can tell that by the spiral or the grooves that are left behind. Each groove means that the penetration rate was likely 2 to 3 millimeters per revolution. Now that is impossible to be achieved by our present modern technology. And also, no, these were not samples taken by geologists or someone like that, because the technology is far more advanced than what we have.
And with what they teach us, they should not have had drills back
then. The
then.
dynastic Egyptians could not do this work.
Based on what we've been taught, these people should not have had drills back then. Because to use a drill, you would have to have electricity. And to have electricity, you'd have to be more advanced than what they're teaching us. So somebody's lying.
It has a lot of weird, intertwined iconography around this idea of the fish god. Now, yeah, this seems like quite strange, but there is this connection. There's a biblical connection to Dagon, I will talk about in a minute. The Greeks had their own gods who were amphibious and androgynous. We even know from Plutarch that the earliest representations of Zeus were of a man with a fishtail, an image which survived in Greek mythology in the form of his brother Poseidon. So, once again, all throughout the Middle East and the world, you find these fish gods associated with the tree of life. Enki in Samaria was Ea in Babylon, and he was also considered a fish being who lived in a watery vault, an underwater palace like many of these beings. And when the Philistines brought the ark to the temple, this is what happened. After the Philistines had captured the ark of God, they took it to Ebenezer, to Ashdod, carried it into the temple of Dagon, and set it beside the statue. When the people of Ashdod got up early the next morning, there was Dagon falling on his face before the ark of the Lord, and the head and the arms were broken off of this fish god. Just to show you, well, first of all, it's a pretty strange story that the Ark of the Covenant had some effects on the statue of the fish god, but in the Bible, they also talk about the pagan worship of this god.
Apparently, we were all copper-based. All of our physiology was based on copper. We were all blue bloods. Okay? We were all royalty. In fact, we still are. It's just that our physiology is not working the same. And the reason it isn't is apparently because of a nuclear war that occurred here. One of the nuclear wars that occurred here. Now, why Earth? Well, number one, it's a really beautiful place. Okay? It's not the only planet that has water. And when you listen to the scientists talking about, the different moons that have water on them, you got to ask yourself this: where did the water come from? If you have a moon that has no atmosphere, how did the water get there? Because it wasn't always there. It wasn't always like that. It had atmosphere. They were moved. Even Earth was moved from its rotation twice. And there's a possibility, if it's able to happen, I talked with Jay-Z, that they want to do it again. The flood of Noah, okay, was a moving of the planet from its original orbit. That's what caused it. Okay, we're talking about huge mother...
Now, I don't know if anything this guy is saying is true. And I'm not saying it's true. All I know is the history that they hide from us, obviously something happened a long time ago, and a lot of that history is just gone. And I think they hide it from us because they don't want us to know what happened back then. They were obviously advanced. A lot of the stuff they did back then, we can't even do today. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm not going to be satisfied until I find out, because I feel like it plays a big role on understanding where we come from and like what we are.
Ships that just tag on, hook a little chain to the planet and just move it. Okay, they have this technology, but that's what it is. It's technology. Okay, apparently we can do these things with our own minds if we're disciplined enough and we're clearly focused on our intent. And with talking with Jay-Z, that is exactly what Ramtha apparently has been teaching you. Okay, to remember who we originally were before we fell into time and fell into physicality. So I will read this. In your linear time of third density measurement of 439,231 rotations ago, war on a grave scale occurred in your solar system. This aggression occurred against those on your worlds that included not only you Terrans, but also those of Nibiru. This invasion of your system by Orion was led by a queen named Suti. This war was destructive on many levels and frequencies of physicality. We will focus tonight on your Terran physical form. It matters little to those who hear you, Alex, who do not listen. Please share this regardless of any emotional return to you in challenge. When your science truly removes their bigotry, they will discover of the wisdom of it. The last grave conflict was very harmful to your physical form. Many weapons of destruction, many of atom splitting have been used, which means nuclear weapons. This is the reason for most of your Terran skin tones. We shall explain. Orion was and is most interested in the females of your race because of the procreation, reproductive, and genetic strengths. We want to share the fact that much of your Terran history has been misleading in its truth by those who eventually conquered in control of your solar system. Nibiru won, but only a short battle, before they and other outposts were forced to leave your solar system because of genetic damage. Your original races were green-skinned.
Green skin?
This we know because of large copper traces in your Terran 22 blood types. Also, the pituitary and thyroid were fully functional. The genetic damage to these organs was caused by radioactivity in air and all things of contact. The air was like this for a long time. It caused the genetic memory of these organs to be closed and almost atrophied. Your world experienced drastic changes in climate and massive magnetic fluctuations. Your different skin tones, races, are a result of an edema damage to your blood. It was then necessary for survival to create self-sufficient and contained environmental habitats, both above and below the earth. Now, folks, this is what the Garden of Eden was. It was an artificially created environmental habitat. Okay, it's like like what Richard Hoagland's been talking about. You know, you take a dome city, you build this dome, and then you terraform it underneath it. It's exactly what these were. Let's see, where was I? Much of the fossilization of your Terran remnants is caused by this radiation of your planet. Your system contained 3 suns at the time. Only 2 remain. I'll read that again.
3 of them. That'd be crazy.
Your system contained 3 suns at the time. Only 2 remain. Write it down. Write it down. It's a question.
Where's the second one at?
Your physicality, your physicality in its original form contained a great balance of zinc, copper, magnesium, and iron. Your true blood color was green, like your chlorophyll.
green
Some we
blood
have
and green
discovered
skin.
even had your true blood color was green, like your chlorophyll. Some we have discovered even had a gold tint in it. As such, your physicality could survive in a high carbon dioxide atmosphere. Because of this, because of this skin color, the only stars in your system that affected your physical form were in the color spectrum of orange, red, blue, and green. Now think about that. Okay? If you picture in your mind everything's a holograph, okay, which is a group of frequencies. Because of this skin color green, the only stars in your system that affected your physical form were in the color spectrum of orange, red, blue, and green. Many of your Terran races were stranded on the surface. The genetic changes were the result of radiation damage. Your race went from green to red to yellow to black to white. Let's run this again. Your race, skin color went from green to red, which is the Native Americans, the Egyptians, and the Mayans, to yellow, which are Eurasians, to black, which are African and Afro-Americans, to white. Your white races were then considered to be genetically the weakest.
Yeah, I mean, alright you guys, that's gonna be it for the video today. If you made it all the way to the end, don't forget to leave a like, comment, or most importantly, subscribe. And yeah, I'm just gonna keep going on the road to knowledge and truth. I'll catch you guys on the next one.